Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is having a nice summer evening. Still remind there's a few people still thinking about coming to the lake. We got probably one more space left. Hope everybody had a nice 4th of July. Seemed like good weather most every place. Okay. You can see what was happening today. The market wasn't all that exciting, except for the fact that we still got another indication that the T line was acting as support on the Dow, so we can still see this trajectory. So we're seeing good buy signals over the last few trading days, telling us that they're not selling off the Dow. They had been selling off the NASDAQ, but today with the bullish harami getting toward the oversold area, excuse me, it's significant that it's happening right here. And that it's supporting right at the same level it's supported before. So with all the other indexes not really selling off, we can see that the transportation index is in a nice J-hook pattern. The indication is that there's still going to be a little bit more upside, meaning this market still is not selling off with any great evidence. The S&P 500 back up above the T line, not really going anywhere. So this puts the analysis on each sector. We can see the crude oil sector. Let me make this smaller. Still in this downtrending channel. Now, when we did our channel training not too long ago, one of the key elements of a channel obviously is seeing where the obvious tops and bottoms are and being able to draw a parallel line, getting you pretty close to the bottoms and the tops, with this move right here likely to move back up here with one contingency. Since this is a major moving average, you always see what happens there at the moving average. And we saw on Monday a big bearish engulfing signal. So that may mean it could be doing a J-hook, but right now the overall trend obviously is a downward trend, with it might be adding or heading back up to this level. But that seems to be kind of the expected range. So that means a lot of the are not going to do anything real significant. And gold trying to bottom right down here in this this range. So also, this is where you just kind of observe the obvious, that if you can draw a parallel line from here to here, from there to there, I mean, that's telling you kind of what the range is. So you can be trading off of that. And the benefit we have is we can see what type of signals we're getting at the support levels and the resistance levels. So it just makes it a little bit more, let's say, clearly analytical as to where the tops and the bottoms should be. The dollar, not doing anything. Again, that same scenario. We can pretty well draw a parallel line here. Kind of your trend channel down through here. So nothing Nothing major going on there. Over in the options and futures room, it was pointed out that we could be going short on live cattle, especially if it opens lower tomorrow, because then you've got your bearish J-hook pattern, making this the next likely target, which would coincide with this area right in here. So at least we have targets to start watching for. Okay, so on the stock side, there are still some good charts that we're playing. Cala, you can see, moved up nicely today. And Labu, kind of the instigator of that, is doing a J-hook pattern, which means this can be bought with the expectation that if this is your classic fry pan bottom J-hook, we should be moving up into this area. It becomes a good option trade setup. And we were doing well in TV. Did I do this backwards? Yeah, we had a nice breakout of kind of a fry pan bottom, and then it sold off hard on Monday. So it had to open positive and trade positive today to stay in if you had stayed in this one. Now, one of the things that we know about a fry pan bottom is usually when they get to the breakout stage, it's not unusual to see some whipsaw actions. So we're still looking for, if this opens positive, you can still be buying this one with the expectation that the breakout just went through some whipsaw situation before breaking out. Inverted hammer gap up through the resistance level and then started trading positive. Again, we're in the process of doing the statistical analysis of what happens after a big breakout. We're going to be doing near, I guess on the 20th, we're going to be doing a session on how do you expect or how do you get ready for breakout situations. Because we've got a lot of chart patterns like a fry pan bottom breakout or a J-hook breakout, that type of thing, that kind of gets you ready for a possibility of a big price move. But the other statistic that I am working on is what are the probabilities after a big breakout based upon the message or a doji, how things open afterwards. And that will be a very revealing statistic for people, so they know instead of something moving up big, people having to say, oh, do I buy here? At least now you've got statistical probabilities of what happens by analyzing the candlestick charts. Here's a nice looking chart. This is CLDS, J-hook pattern. Where would you expect the next price move to be? Up here toward the 200-day moving average. The stop on XPER, at this point, we would expect a 45-degree. Probably wouldn't want to see it trade back below the open of today. That would tell you that it's not doing what it's supposed to. So that's where your safety stop should be placed. Now, because of the T-line, we've got a lot of charts that we can just stay long. Again, here's that message. When do we start buying after a message? When we start seeing the first buy signal. And so what was this message? That something new and dramatic has occurred in that trend. And then what's our analysis afterwards? You stay long. You got out here, you got back in here. Right now, basically, you just stay long until you see a sell signal. Same scenario on Acor. There was our bobble breakout. So we're buying right in here, and what's our analysis at that point? You just stay long until you see a sell signal. We will get a little bit more diligent watching to see what happens here. at the 200, and the fact that it went through told us they weren't resistant at that level. So what's our analysis at this point? You stay long until you see a sell signal and a close back below the T-line. Kind of the same scenario on TBBK. You just stay long on this one. So these are the type of situations we like to get into, or at least know what the analysis is. Because as I've mentioned before, if you've got 10 positions on and 4 of them are, or 5 of them are steady eddies, you take a maybe 3 seconds analysis on each one of them to just say, when you look at it each night, nothing to do here, just stay long. FRTA needs to open positive and trade positive. If it opens lower, now it's got a different criteria. Maybe we're in a bearish J-hook pattern. After today's gap up on more, what would you look for tomorrow? Whoops. Well, for some reason, more is not coming up over here. Let me. That I can't help you with. I guess all you can, I would guess that was probably, that was a buyout situation. At that point, you just have to go off the basis of what the numbers were, or whether it was a one-time dividend payout. And Eros, another one. That inverted hammer, bullish confirmation. Where was the next likely target? Probably up here at the 200-day moving average. How are we getting there? Again, the little J-hook analysis. So again, this isn't really rocket science. This is just, again, using what information the Japanese race traders provided us and just using common sense analysis. The biggies, like Amazon. Nothing here yet, except if you were short Amazon, today's bullish Harami told you that if it opens positive tomorrow, you close out your short position. You don't necessarily have to go long until it closes above the T-line, Same scenario on Netflix. Is bullish Harami, if it opens positive tomorrow, you close out your short position. Let's see, if a stock's going down and people are buying the calls, it might be, got to remember, they're not buying it because they might think it's a positive situation. They might be shorting the stock and buying the calls as protection. So you don't try to analyze things based upon, a lot of people say, well, such and such a stock has a big short interest in it. Well, it doesn't matter. And what you're more interested in is what's happening as far as the price movement. You can have the biggest short position in the stock, but if it's going up, it's not telling you anything. So remember, everything that is known about a stock price is built into the chart. You don't have to try to second guess or overanalyze what's going on because it's already, think of it this way, we're just little individual investors out in the hinterlands. The people that know what's going on and have the big money are making the decisions. We're just seeing what their decisions are based upon the knowledge they have. Tesla, you stay short on this one. No, that's not a kicker signal. That was a left-right combo, closed below the T-line, another bearish left-right combo, and a gap down. I would suspect they're coming down at least to this level. And Apple's got kind of the worst of all the charts. It's just not going anywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't be long or short Apple right now. But we do have some good ones. LPL. Notice the best friend gap up. Now, this is apparently traded overseas. That's why it looks so choppy. This one you can be buying on positive trading tomorrow. That would tell you they're breaking out through this level after a best friend gap up situation. OCUL. This is why you want to know what the different bullish patterns are. There's our Morningstar signal. There's our confirmation. And if it opens positive, tomorrow, what do we have? We've got a McMuffin. And what do we expect after a McMuffin? More upside. Somebody pointed out BPMC earlier today. There's your J-hook pattern. Expect more upside on this one. And HZNP. There's your bobble breakout. Where's your next likely target? Up here somewhere. Fill in this gap. And once you have a gap like this, that means there's no resistance there. That means there's no people ready to sell because the old bad investment criteria, as it's going down, people say, oh man, if it ever goes back up to where I bought it, I'm going to sell it out. Well, that's what causes the overhead. But if there is no overhead, that means there's very little resistance until it gets back up to the top of that gap. NTLA, another J-hook pattern that can be bought on positive trading. Juno, another J-hook pattern. Right now, the J-hook patterns are something to take take advantage of, because if the market is having a very slow uptrend like this, you don't want to be in something like this. You want to be in something where you know what the next price move is going to be. So knowing the different patterns allows you to take advantage of the sunshine. When making hay while the sun shines, you're picking out the positions that are going to have the bigger potential to the upside. Now, this is a kicker type signal. It's not what I'd call a true kicker signal, but the fact that you had a dark candle here and then they gapped it up above the open of Monday and took it up, that kicker signal tells us you definitely want to be a buyer of this one on positive trading tomorrow, because it's telling you two things. It's confirming the kicker signal, and it's breaking out through the 50, and it's also breaking out through this level. Where's your next target? Up here, another 20% to the upside. Let's see, NVRO, kicker signal. This is more of a trend kicker signal. You were already starting the trend, opens here, closes here, then gaps up above the open and goes the opposite direction. I'd be a buyer of this one, mostly probably an option trade. Bison. Nice little slow curve. Look where you are, right here at the breakout level. Another one that can be bought on positive trading. Pirates, kind of a gap up breakout. I wouldn't be afraid to be buying this one on positive trading tomorrow. That's actually Paris, not Pirates. Why I tell my Andy's grandkids what's the Pirates' most favorite ocean? The Arctic Ocean. Flexion, another J-hook pattern. This one you could be buying. Where's your first target? Up here to fill this gap. J-hook pattern. Notice what the J-hook pattern basically did. Came up through the resistance levels, came back, used the 200 to see if it was going to act as support. You can see they couldn't really close it below the T line. I would suspect your next target is up here. And LNTH, notice the little gap up through the resistance level, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Showing this more to show where you can identify where the breakouts are. When they gap up through a resistance level, especially coming off a support level, that becomes a very high probability trade setup. NTLA, J-hook pattern. INSY. Another J-hook pattern with your belt hold type signal. By at least coming back up to test the recent highs. And there's your ultimate J-hook pattern. And you can see exactly what happened on the T-line, a morning star signal. You definitely want to be buying this one. Where's your target? Up here to fill this gap. That's probably a very good option trade. Radius. Nice J-hook pattern. AM. What happened there? Oh. AIMT. Another perfect J-hook pattern starting with a morning star signal. And DERM. So these J-hook patterns, look what's setting up pretty much here, kind of a bobble setup. You can be buying this one on the positive trading. Just look for it to see what happens at the 200-day moving average. Yeah, volume. Volume is a non-consideration. The only time volume becomes a vital situation is, let's say right here you got a buy signal, and they had a big volume spike. I don't know. I don't think I have volume over here. That basically tells you there's been a drastic change of investor sentiment at the signal. And I always kind of give the illustration that a lot of people say, well, I want to see the volume as the volume increases, the price goes up. Volume and price have absolutely nothing to do with each other. If nobody's willing to sell stock and there's people willing to buy it, that price could go up on a very low volume. So the only time volume becomes a factor is if you see a reversal signal the day before, the day of, or the day after, you see huge volume, a big volume spike, then you can kind of assume that there's been a major change of ownership. Here's another J-hook pattern on ACAD. Wouldn't be afraid to be buying this one on positive trading. Just watch to see what it does at the 200. And did I do that one? FTNT. Kicker signal. Now that's a kicker signal. It opened here and closed here. Then notice today they opened it above the open of Monday, and went the opposite direction. That's a kicker signal. That's one of your highest probabilities, bah humbug. Oh, whatever it was, didn't want to talk. Teradyne, same situation. There's your kicker signal. So this becomes a high probability trade setup in the sense that if it opens positive tomorrow, what is it doing? Number one, it's confirming the kicker signal. And number two, it's telling you the T-line is not acting as resistance anymore. So a positive open tells you probably your next target is up here at the 50-day moving average. Oh, man. That is such terrible handwriting. That's not it. Here's, you can kind of see the bottoming action, but this is the important part right here. This is, again, knowing your signals. There's a morning star signal at the end of flat trading. What else does that look like? That looks like that little mini scoop pattern. So if this opens positive, what's it basically telling you about the 50-day moving average? When they came up, they used the 50 as support. We saw another buy signal. That's when you can start buying. And this is our lean hog trade right now. You can see when it broke through this level, we had a wave 1, wave 2. Notice how wave 3 started, right smack dab off the 50, and then blasted through the resistance level. So what's our expectation? Wave 1 and wave 3 should be the same. Okay, I guess that's about all I got for tonight. Again, with this market just kind of showing us a slow, steady uptrend, but the uptrend is pretty well confirmed unless they blast it down again, because you got a big bearish engulfing signal. So either one of two things are happening. More likely, this is happening, where it's starting this way. If we see another big blast down, that means this resistance level is starting to see sell signals. Can you explain measured gaps? Ooh. I don't know what is meant by measured gaps. There's just a few rules of thumb as far as gaps. All gaps usually get filled. Now sometimes they won't get filled for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, but they eventually get filled. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. There's I think we did a gap session not too long ago where there's 4. We did it on the high profit weekend. There's 4 gaps. There's a gap down in the oversold area, and that just kind of fits in with the Japanese rice traders' explanation of where do most people sell. They panic sell at the bottom. Then you've got the gap up from the oversold area, and that's usually creating situations like this where you've got a buy signal and a gap up. That's telling you there's a new change of investor sentiment. Then you've also got, I think this is a perfect example. You can see our ticker signal here. Did a gap up, started the uptrend. Then when they gap it up in the overbought condition, that goes to the other explanation that Japanese rice traders give us of where do most people buy. They buy exuberantly at the top. So anytime you see a gap up in the overbought condition, start getting ready to take profits. Then the final one is, I don't know whether, I'm trying to think of, if you see overbought condition and a thing like a doji and a gap down, that now becomes your bearish best friend. And that not only tells you up in the overbought condition there was indecision, but when they gap it down, they pretty much tell you they've made their decision with great enthusiasm. So I hope that explains the measured gaps. Okay, any other general questions on candlesticks? All right, Jim, go ahead and do the double line. And in 4.3 seconds, do the next double line. Richard, do you have any interest in coming to the lake this year? Let's see, PULM. Again, this is where you just have to kind of observe the obvious. Is there anything here that looks dramatically good? Right now, nothing. You do have an inverted hammer. So if it opens positive, you can be buying it, but you still have to watch to see what happens here at the resistance level. Oh, Kara? Yeah, Kara had that gap down. Yeah, notice where they gapped it up and did a doji. That told you were in the overbought condition. Start looking for profit taking. That would have been the ultimate day. Probably this day would have been the day you took profits. This was confirming that if they closed it down here, you wanted to close it out. Because where would you think the next likely target was going to be? Probably at least back down to the T-line, but why take the chance you might be involved in something like that? This one had your little kicker type signal, came up through, but with them closing it back below the 50 and the T-line, I would have closed it out today. Because that told you they weren't going through this level. So I'd be someplace else at this point. Cardinal Help, a J-hook pattern setting up. I wouldn't be afraid to buy that one on positive trading. GNC, you stay long. You can see what the trajectory is. You don't want to see it trade back below the T-line or close below the T-line. You've still got this type of setup, so right now the best analysis is you stay long until you see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. Regeneron, that's a toughie. If you were out of it, I'd stay out until you see a buy signal and a close back up above the T-line. Other than that, you know, you can kind of figure it's in a slow uptrend. Nice J-hook pattern setting up on SGYP. Another one you could be buying on positive trading with the anticipation of wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, taking you up to the 200. Morningstar signal, bullish confirmation. I'd still be a buyer of AARY. Again, another biotech that's getting some results from the LABU telling us the biotechs are coming back again. FRTA has to open positive tomorrow to stay in it. If it opens lower, you want to close it out. even if you close it out, you can always buy it back if it comes back up and closes above the T line. Backs are international. All you can do right now is stay long. It's not a very exciting stock, but it's moving in the right direction. EXEL, all you can do here is stay long. Now, I would still be a buyer of this one, especially if it came back up through today's high. ORBC, same scenario. As long as it doesn't close below the T line, you stay long. Chicago Bridge, the perfect example of moving up, seeing the sell signals at the 50. Where do you think it was going to move to? Back to the T line. I'd be a buyer of this one at $21, knowing that it came back up through doing the bobble breakout. Same scenario as you would a stock, Bob, on scanning for sectors. Let me see if I can do this. This gets most of this on here. But as you can see, here, you can't see, just off to, maybe I can do this. There we go. These are the stocks that we were following. Got different watch lists. But if I wanted to come up here, now if I come up here and I say, all right, I want to look at all the industry groups and scan for the ones that, well, semiconductors pop back up. Regional airlines has a nice pattern. So that tells me I want to be looking at regional airlines. I might come right back to that. Utilities, foreign utilities, don't trade those very much. So if I come back up here to regional airlines, I can see we kind of have a slow curve breakout as far as the industry. So I just come up here and I say, all right, I want to see which ones were acting well. Tomorrow, GOL is probably going to be recommended because of the kicker signal. And I can go down through and say which stocks in that sector have the best charts. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm looking at a sector that was acting very strong, and now I can find the different stocks in that sector that might be acting the strongest. So that's basically putting all the probabilities in your favor. You can analyze which way the general market is going. You can analyze which sectors are acting the strongest. Then you can go analyze which stocks in that sector are acting the strongest. Shopify, nothing right now. You do have a bullish engulfing. I probably wouldn't buy this until it breaks this downtrending channel. Right now there's just nothing there to want to be in this one. TCO. I'm going to try TCO. Whoops. CO. This one you can stay long ever since the breakout, ever since the J hook, but now you've got a bearish engulfing. I would have a safety stop just below the T line. If it comes down through there, notice where you started seeing the selling when they gapped it up in the overbought condition. That's where you started seeing the profit taking. There's your gap down. Except this is you couldn't short this because of the $2 stock. But when you see a doji and they gap it down, get out of it right away. That tells you they're probably coming all the way back at least to the 50. CCXI, all you can do here is stay long as it stays above the T line. Okay, Richard, we'll catch you another year. Oh, Steve, email Abraham again because I sent him over. You probably forgot because of the holidays. Excuse me. UNH, all you can do is stay long. J-hook pattern on ALNY. This one you can buy if it opens positive tomorrow. At least know your first target is up here to this trajectory. Dollar Tree, get ready to short this one. Notice the dojis right here. That basically puts you in a situation where notice that they gapped it down in the oversold area and they just couldn't pick up steam. That means your J-hook, bearish J-hook pattern is probably about ready to take place. ZTO. You can buy this one. You don't have a real strong buy here, but you got some few little buy signals. You can be buying. Just watch to see if they can break out through this level. And AJRD, another one that if it breaks out through this level, you can buy it. Just be careful. If they open it lower, they're probably doing some profit taking, coming back to test the 50 to see if it's going to act as support. AT&T, just not a trader because of its institutional positioning. Right now, boy, it's just a tough one to want to own because there's just no movement to it. If you like it, you can be buying it, but you have to watch to see what happens when it hits the 50, that downtrending channel. That's just not an exciting trader. Verizon, kind of the same scenario. I probably wouldn't be long or short Verizon right now just because there's really no direction to it either way. And VMC, there's your Morningstar signal right off the 50. You can be buying this one with the anticipation they're going to come back up and test the recent highs. So VRX, whoops, came back up a little bit today, bounced off the T line. This one can still be bought on positive trading tomorrow because that puts you in your classic fry pan bottom J hook. What was the other one? SIG. SIG, we bought this one because of the bobble breakout. Notice how it used the T line today as support, looking for more upside. BIIB is the same as Labu, kind of a J-hook pattern setting up. If you buy this on positive trading tomorrow, basically watch to see what it does at the 200. And SunPower, yes, goes short. If you were able to short this one, I would suspect at least coming back down to test the 50. Big breakout. I would check to see what the news and the volume is on this one, JB. Because if it breaks out through this level, again, you got lots of running room. So that could be a good percentage play. Okay, well, as long as the markets continue to move in this even slow trajectory, that still means there's different sectors that are going to show strength. Like right now, it's the biotechs again. I'd be playing. Somebody asks a couple of weeks ago, aren't you afraid to be a little bit more heavy in biotechs than others? And the answer is no, because we're sitting here watching them or trading them on a short-term basis. It's not like we're exposing a lot of money for a long period of time to a sector. We may only be playing the biotechs for the next 4 or 5 trading days, and then see what the next sector or next patterns tell us. So where can you find, oh boy, let me take a gander here. Indexes. This may take a minute to figure out. No, I've got a quicker way to do this. Just go to the index. Okay, so those are the transports. You click on the, well, that didn't work. Yeah, I thought I could find them here, but apparently not. I bet you can even Google stocks that make up the transport index. I don't know if Greyhound is still around or not. All right, thanks, Kathy. Okay, well, let's call it a night. Short week, but there's still some good chart movement out there, and still some good setups. At least we know where we can target where our next price move will be. All right, thanks, Kathy. All right, everybody, have a good evening. We'll see you bright and early in the morning.